What is good? Welcome back to Contychat with me, Brenda Lepal, and I'm excited to be here with you today because why? Because we brought in two guests in the studio today talking to us about I'm not going to tell you just as yet because you know why? I want to talk to you about our previous episodes where you can actually check us out at RTM Click. So scroll through, not just on TikTok or Instagram, check us out and to learn more about some of the coolest things right here in the country. Now we are going to talk about something cool today, just as always to be honest, not just for today. It's going to be about law. Wait, hold up. This is not where you turn off your TV, okay? But it's merely a time for you to know more about it. And believe me, it's gonna be easy. Now, ever wondered how a judge drops a sentence here in the country? It can be intimidating when it comes to various and different types of jargons, right? And how we can actually understand more about it. Now, apparently we know about law, but on a surface level. So let's learn more about it. It can be explained in simplest of ways. So believe me right now because I am going to tell you more about it. Actually, no. I don't know law. But anyways, joining me in the studio today, we brought in two lawyers. Please welcome Ivan Teng Jun Hong and also Farhana Abdul Halim. Good afternoon, or should I say hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
How are you all today?
Hello, Brendan. Thank you for having us.
Okay,
Yes.
so when we talk about law, right? Everybody be like, "Oh my goodness, it's going to be some heavy stuff," how are we going to learn more about it? And first and foremost, why should we know about the law here in the country, Farhana?
In a very simple layman term, is to know your rights.
That's it. There you go. Ivan, do you have anything to say about it?
I can't add to that. That's essentially it.
It's literally it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about how a judge drops a sentence right here in the country.
Well, I think the first thing you have to get out of your head is how dramatic it is.
Okay.
Because
Precisely.
one of the fundamental, aspects of the law is that your opponent needs to know what they are fighting,
Okay.
right? If you look at TVs, a lot of the drama comes from certain exciting facts that pop up right in the middle of trial.
Right.
Something happens, there's a huge discovery, and then boom,
Mm-hmm.
it turns the whole case on its head. But in reality, very much when you immediately before a case starts, right, there are processes leading up to a court case.
Okay.
One of these processes is called case management.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of this case management is to help the court, simplify the issues at hand because they can be so complex. And it helps the court narrow down the issues that are in dispute between two parties. And to do that, you need to have a rough grasp of everything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you bring in things like documentation, contracts, you look at recordings. So essentially everything that transpired between parties, there is some form of recording somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps solidify the facts before the court, and it helps the court to do what they are supposed to do, which is telling you what the law is in a particular situation.
Right.
So very far from what you see in TV, but it's exciting nonetheless, in the sense that all this investigative work does happen, but it happens well before the case goes to trial.
Yes.
So that means, Farhana, it's being presented in court, which means to say that this is the direction that the case is moving forward to.
Yep.
It's either you're defending the case
Yes.
or you're prosecuting the case,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Okay. Just to share a bit, when I was much younger, how I got attracted to becoming a solicitor and advocate is because of all the Hollywood movies.
Oh, I knew it.
I grew up with LA Law,
Right.
Ally McBeal, long before Suits and all. So you see how the action goes in a courtroom,
Right.
right? Is it similar to what we have here? Well, it depends on cases,
Okay.
but not as dramatized as what you see in the movie.
Right.
What we have here is an adversarial system where two parties, like what Ivan said, two parties competing against each other.
Okay.
Because slightly similar to what they have in the US court, because that's
Right.
what we watch most of the movies and film, the US court and how it goes, the court system there.
So, switching things up a little bit, when you watch movies, especially in Hollywood, where you have your judicial, you're not judicial, sorry, you have your juries, and then you have your judge. So, can the jury overrule the judge? Just very briefly explain here.
The judge can overrule the jury.
The judge can overrule
That's what I
the
know
jury.
of. The judge can overrule the jury.
Right.
We had, I think many may not be aware of this. In Malaysia, we did have a jury system, but
Okay.
up to 1995. Because the last case that actually shuts the whole jury system was the infamous, or rather the controversial case of Mona Fendi. So after the case, it was highly publicized and the media had a field day. So after that, they decided that it's no longer possible for us to move forward under the jury system. And the jury system was in place only for criminal cases.
Right.
And certain criminal cases that involves public interest, cases that involve death penalty.
Would you say that even though knowing the person is actually guilty, can the defense lawyer turn it around and win the case altogether? What is the role of a defense lawyer actually?
Well, that's a bit of a loaded question, but let's see if we can take it one by one. The role of a defense lawyer is essentially to present the accuser's case in the best possible light.
Okay.
And you can only do that when you understand the law. If we take, say, murder for example, every crime consists of several elements. Put it broadly, there is the mental element and then there's the physical element of it. So murder is only murder if you cause grievous bodily injury to someone with the intention of causing death. So if you take away one of these elements, the mental element or the intention of it, then it is culpable homicide not amounting to murder, because a prerequisite to murder is that intention.
Right.
And that applies to many different crimes as well. Take drug trafficking. One of the elements of drug trafficking is that there must be an intention to traffic the drugs. That's why we commonly see defenses in murder, for example, being, I never had an intention to murder him. For example, I did this particular act and he died because of an allergy. Let's take that as an example. But I had no idea that he had such an adverse reaction to this allergy. Then you can't say that it's murder, right? Or if you're taking drug trafficking, very often there were cases where people were told to take care of someone else's luggage while they go to the toilet.
Correct.
And then later it was discovered that in the luggage there are drugs. When you take it to trial, one of the issues that you'll be disputing is whether you knew there were drugs in that briefcase. Because you didn't, that is often the reason that you cannot be considered to have committed that crime. That mental element is such an important part of a crime. But if you don't understand, or if the general public doesn't understand what are the elements to the finding of a crime, it's very difficult to fight. Because now you're going off tangent, arguing about different things which to the court does not matter. So the role of a defense lawyer is to, I guess, look at the facts and to emphasize those which are beneficial to your client in helping the judge make a decision on whether these elements or these factors have been fulfilled. Very simply, I would say that is the job of a defense lawyer.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Maybe just to add to that, for general understanding, defense lawyer, we work on the premise or on the principle of presumption of innocent.
Right.
All right, innocent until proven guilty. Whose job is it? Whose job to prove the accused guilty? The burden of the proof is not on the defense, obviously. It's on the prosecution. Okay, the prosecution has the obligation and has bear the burdens to prove the guilt of the accused beyond reasonable doubt. So as a defense counsel, for us, our main duty is to challenge that.
Right.
To challenge the evidence presented by the prosecutions. So if they have a flawed case, then we challenge, and then it's up for the court to make decision based on the evidence presented. So the bulk of the obligation to charge, even to charge a person, lays on the prosecution team, and they work with the police. Okay. Then you come in with your client's rights. What are the rights of the accused? So this is, I would say, people get very sensitive around issues, rights of accused in criminal cases, because the notion of presumption of innocence always goes out the door. The moment you're charged in court, the public general perception is that, oh, you're guilty, you're charged in court, therefore you're guilty. So it's unfortunate, but it's out there. You know, it's really difficult to get that out of your mind. But you have to understand that even if you're charged in court, it does not mean that you're guilty in any manner whatsoever until you're proven to be guilty in court based on evidence presented to the judge. Okay. Throughout the whole proceeding, criminal proceeding, what are the rights? Do you have rights as accused? Of course you have rights. You have the rights to information, because the gathering of evidence will be done by the police, hand over to the prosecution. You have rights to have a look at all the evidence presented. That's your right. You have right to legal representation, so this is where the lawyers come in. Okay, and it's a right that is secured under the Federal Constitution, Article 5. You have the right to legal representation. And then you have the right to fair chance to present your case, to bring witnesses, to examine evidence. Okay, you have right to fair trial. It's a right that is conferred to you to ensure that you get fair trial. That's why when we had, remember, if you remember back then when we had ISA, there's a lot of protests against ISA because you do not have the right to trial at all. What more, a fair trial? So every accused should be given a fair trial to present his or her case in court, then to be judged by the judge. Okay, and then even after the trial has ended, whatever sentence or that is given by the court, the accused also have the right to appeal. Okay, these are all your rights, and your rights should be safeguarded, regardless of whether this is your first time being accused in court for any criminal offense, second time. But all these rights should be preserved by court and should be adhered by all parties in court, because we are all officers of court, even the prosecution. So therefore, this is what we have to respect in presenting a case.
So there you go. So every single time when you hear someone get prosecuted at court and then still plead not guilty, and then will further the case, right at the High Court or maybe even at the Federal Court. So this is actually why, because criminals out there, all right, they are still not proven guilty just as yet. Correct?
Correct.
Exactly. Now we're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the 10 million ringgit allocation by our Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. Stay tuned right here on Contychat.
Kepercayaan kepada Tuhan,
kesetiaan kepada raja dan negara,
keluhuran perlembagaan,
kedaulatan undang-undang,
kesopanan dan kesusilaan.
And hey, welcome back to Contychat, and right now we're talking about law in the country, where you and I should learn more about it and to actually understand how a judge drops a sentence. So joining me in the studio today, we've got Ivan Ten Jun Hong and also Farhana Abdul Halim, who are both lawyers in the house. So welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so now let's talk about the allocation, 10 million ringgit given by our Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim on Yayasan Bantuan Guaman Kebangsaan to continue providing legal aid. And what is your take on this, Ivan?
Well, just to start, YBGK, or the abbreviation for what you mentioned earlier, is actually legal aid for criminal matters, right? So when you commit a crime and let's say you committed a crime and you can't afford legal representation, they are who you will go to first. However, there are barriers to getting such assistance because it's meant to help, I guess, the less advantaged financially of us. So there's a financial test that you have to go through. Essentially, that's what YBGK is, legal assistance for criminal matters. But if we look at the 10 million allocation, from what I understand, our Prime Minister did not go into detail as to where that allocation is going to go I guess, in that system of the YBGK. But I think we can quite confidently say it will go towards paying the lawyers, because at the very least, you have to pay lawyers for their transport fees, traveling back and forth from court, the filing fees of filing different court papers, right? And I think if you have a wider allocation for lawyers, more lawyers would be willing to take up and give these YBGK cases a shot,
Yep.
because you know, there needs to be some incentive as well.
Correct. There should be, yes.
Yeah.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
Especially for out-of-pocket expenses disbursements, right? So 10 million being allocated, of course, very much welcome. YBGK has, I think it was created in 2011 to actually narrow the gap between Jabatan Guaman, which is a government body, and also the Bar Council LAC program. So these are the two, at that point in time, these are the two program available that offers free legal advice, free legal representation to those who pass the means test, the financial test. So basically those who are less fortunate, we can say, Malaysian citizen. Then with the birth of YBGK, so it's basically it's like a financial body that allocates financially to allow or to enable more lawyers to come in and help. So these are private lawyers, me and Ivan, and it's also to assist cases that they take up, you know, like what Ivan said, out-of-pocket expenses and all. And because there are many people out there that goes unrepresented in court.
Right.
That is very sad, because everyone should be given the right legal representation. Everyone should have the right to be heard in court.
Yeah.
Okay, and also, despite the fact that there is YBGK has been around since 2011, 2010. There is still problem with awareness in that sense that many people, especially those in the rural area, are not aware of this program. So therefore, hopefully with this 10 million coming in, a small amount of that can be allocated to create awareness to people, you know, to spread awareness to everyone that, look, we have this available, and that everyone, Malaysian citizen, is who fits the bill, who fits the means test, can then apply to get assistance if you're faced with criminal cases in court.
Because at the end of the day, everyone deserves fair justice.
Exactly.
That's right.
Correct. And talking about fair justice, and I want to talk to you about your experience as a lawyer, Ivan, and also Farhana later on. Have you seen any improvement in our legal system? And of course, tell us more about it.
The judicial system is not afraid to prosecute high-profile public figures.
Yep.
And again, just to repeat what we said earlier, prosecution or the initiation of a prosecution in itself is by no means a determination of guilt.
Okay.
But it is also a way of putting forth, I guess, the state's version of what may have happened, testing it against the defense, and then allowing the court to to come to a certain finding of fact. What a finding of fact is essentially when there are two conflicting versions of a story.
Okay.
So now there are two facts, but only one can be true, because that's what a fact is. It is an absolute statement of truth. So in the course of a trial, one of the judge's duties is to make particular findings of fact, especially when there are two competing versions of a story. And you have to first take a case to trial before you can even make that finding. Otherwise, it is a he say, she said situation, and there is no end to that. So I think, going back to what I was saying earlier, the prosecution, or being able to see the prosecution of high-profile public servants is a sign in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of system, talking about just the court system, I've been in practice for over 17 years, I think. Coming from the time pre-e-filing, okay, where you have to do all your filing manually in court,
Right.
queue
Oh.
up for hours.
Believe me, I can't even do my own stuff. It's a nightmare.
It is. But now we've moved. That's one improvement, right? E-filing, it's so much easier for lawyers, and now we have case management that's managed online. You have Zoom hearings, Zoom trials, and also appointment of more magistrate and judges and judicial commissioner. Then you want to move towards clearing up backlog cases, right? And then to ensure smooth progress of each case. Now we have each cases, especially in civil cases, you're given 9 months. The judges are given 9 months to try to resolve the case and to get a judgment out. So this is a very much welcome improvement to us lawyers. You know, you move along fast and you manage to manage your case well as well. And in terms of a law, just to add to what Ivan says, prosecuting public figures in court, that's one big thing. We've not seen that previously before, right? So now you see the bravery of the judicial system. In terms of law, law for me is a living thing.
Right.
It evolves, as time progresses, it evolves. And in Malaysia, albeit slow, but there is progression in law. We have amendments to certain laws. We have introductions of new laws like the Akta Jenayah Sexual Kanak-Kanak, right? And you have a special court for that, Mahkamah Session Jenayah Sexual Kanak-Kanak. Okay, then you have the Peaceful Assembly Act that was introduced. Then there was amendments, a lot of amendments to the rules of court for civil procedures.
Right.
So these are improvements, I would say, towards the to the right direction to make legal system more attainable in Malaysia, to make legal system to manage it better in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course there's room for improvement. Definitely, you can always improve. You look at the countries surrounding us in Southeast Asia itself. I had the privilege of joining the Malaysian Bar Delegacy, delegate to Jakarta in February. So we went. It's like an exchange trade program with the bar equivalent in Indonesia. So then we saw their court system, and also there's a lot for us to learn from our neighbors as well in ways to improve our legal system. But having said that, I would say yes, we have definitely improved, but there's always room to improve more.
Baby steps, I believe so. Small steps. You crawl, you still get there at the end of the day. And of course, to wrap things up, of course, let's talk about you and I, general public. We tend to sometimes get a little bit more confused, get a little bit more scared about the law and all that. But there is a place where we can get legal advice. Am I right, Ivan?
That's right. Well, one of the first, I guess, avenues for you to do that would be the state bars, right? So the bar is the body that governs lawyers, and there is a bar in every state. So you would have one in KL. There's a KL bar. There's the Selangor bar. Usually these bars have initiatives for legal aid.
Okay.
There's a legal aid center, and that's where you can go in. You can bring the relevant documentation, and if you pass, again, there is a means test to see whether you can actually afford it outside, because this is meant to, again, help the poorer of us. So if you pass that test, there are people there who can provide legal advice. There is also the YBGK, as we mentioned earlier, and also certain universities actually have legal aid clinics as well. I was from Taylor's. I did my degree in Taylor's, and if I recall correctly, we did have a legal aid clinic.
Oh, okay. That's
I think UM may also have a legal aid clinic, but I'm not too sure about that second one. Certain law firms also offer free initial consultation.
Yes, we do that. Yeah, you can, if you know any private lawyers, some may offer like free half an hour legal advice to anyone. Jabatan Bantuan Guaman, but that's more of government initiative. But otherwise, yes, there are available programs out there or for you to get free legal advice. At least initial advice. So I would say the state bar, the legal aid clinic, the legal aid center, the programs that's available at legal aid. Yes, do reach out. They are more than they are more than happy to help. You have a walk-in clinic actually, so you can walk in and inquire, and just speak to the officer on duty. You have pupil on duty. You have volunteer lawyers on duty, so you can speak to them and like brainstorm about how your case is going to go about. But these are mostly applicable for criminal cases.
Right.
And but the legal aid in KL and actually most legal aid, they also have Sharia clinic. It's like I said earlier, it's just the awareness that people are not aware that these are the services provided. So it would be great if people out there know and uses these services available.
Awesome. I know now two private lawyers. Their names are Farhan Abdul Halim and Ivan Teng. Okay, you know what? We have to wrap up the show very, very, very briefly. And to all the students out there who are studying for their law or their CLP, your advice to them.
You want to take this?
Farhan, let's go.
Before you decide not to be a litigator, try it out.
Okay.
You may not know, it may be the love of your life.
Woo! All right,
Yes.
Ivan.
Okay, this is for the CLP guys out there because I did my CLP.
Study hard.
Study hard. But on top of that, the CLP presents two distinct problems. The first being how bulky the syllabus actually is. The second is a difficulty understanding all these terms because, yes, we may know legal terms, but then during the CLP you hear about things like what's an affidavit,
Yeah.
what's a notice of
Yes.
application.
What's a prima facie? What's a habeas corpus?
There's all that
what
thing.
you study in uni is nothing like what you practice.
Yes.
Right.
So advice, do internships.
Yes.
Internships help you see what these documents are. It helps you put an image to all these jumble of words that you see in your syllabus, which you have no other way of understanding.
Yes.
Do your internships preferably while you're doing your degree, and study hard.
And enjoy the process along the way.
Can I just add one last thing?
Yes.
Because our main discussion is on criminal law here, so I just want to put it out there to all the ladies out there, female students, law students studying. Believe me when I say, even the ladies can be hardcore litigator in court.
I agree.
For criminal cases, you can do it.
You heard it yourself. You know what? Thank you so much, Ivan, for being here. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
Thank you,
having us.
Brendan.
That's it. That's all the time we have today on ContyChat. And of course, if you love these episodes and all the previous episodes that we have for you, be sure to look us up at RTM Click, right? That's where you can get all the other sort of stuff right here on RTM show as well. Till then, I'm Brendan Paul. It's been a pleasure having you right here on ContyChat. We will see you next time. Bye bye.